Shall we start? Yeah, very good evening, my dear students. So, welcome to Shilpi's Academy, and hope my voice is clear. Can you put S comment? Can you put a comment? My voice is clear, audible. Am I audible? Okay. Good evening. In this session, we will be going through economics, basically macroeconomics, which is you have in your CSET paper, which consists of two parts, which is microeconomics, macroeconomics, and there is a communication paper. So you have 25 marks for economics paper itself. We will be going through the macroeconomics part today. Hope all are having some knowledge about economics, You might have studied in your 10th standard, 11th standard, and 12th standard. We will be going through step by step. Don't worry about the subject because the subject is very simple and straightforward. The first question might be in your mind is why I should study economics. As a CS professional, I am basically a company secretary, sir. But why I should study economics? Because you might have learned economics is not a simple subject where you study about wealth. Because that was the concept which was developed by Adam Smith initially. Then you know all the classical theory, neoclassical theory, and modern economics theory that has been developed over a period of time. Here, for your topic, that means especially for your exam point of view, CSET exam point of view, you have MCQs only and for 25 marks, and each chapter having 5 marks each. I will be covering through macroeconomics part that comprises of mainly four chapters that are national income accounting and related concepts, Indian Union budget, Indian financial markets, and Indian economy. So these are all the four chapters which I will be covering through your study journey. Do subscribe to our channel. We have all the recorded versions are available, and you have a pre-launch offer is also there. Please do subscribe. You know, you might be hearing it from our faculties daily. The subject is very simple, and the need for subject I will start, and then we will move on to the topic. Hope, am I clear to you all? Can I get some comment on my chat? Yes or no? Okay, fine. Thank you. Now, see, economics is a topic where it is there for any profession, because earlier economics was mainly for a study of wealth. It has moved from study of wealth to welfare, and then welfare to the resources and its scarcity. That's what the topic goes around. Now, economics is there in physics also. Economics is there in mathematics also. Economics is there in any subject you take, engineering also, accounting also, every subject, management also, economics is there. Because without economics and economy, you cannot do anything in this world. Because for any profession, economics is a basic thing, very basic thing. In this topic, I will be covering you about national income, what is national income and how it is being calculated and all. So why I should know about these things? The important point here is that you need to know about what you mean by wealth, what you mean by welfare, and what you mean by resources individually, separately for managing things. For exam orientation, if you go through our videos and our live lectures, it will be very easy for you. Through live lectures, we can impart with you the importance of each topic in your career. That's what. So you have chosen the right career, and you know all these things. So I would like straight away move out to this topic, and we will be discussing the importance of economics over our journey. Now let me so we will be learning the concepts of national income and its related concepts. You might be knowing, you might be hearing these what do you call these terms: GDP, GNP, NNP. Is it not? And a lot of these words you might have heard. You might have heard about real income, the disposable income, the per capita income. These are all, you all know. You all know this. What is relevant to our topic and what is important for our profession, we should know. So learning as per exam point of view, learning as per professional point of view, that's what we are going to stress in our journey. Now let us move into the topic. The national income is nothing but the total value of goods and services produced annually in a country. So it's the value of goods and services produced in a country. You all know it is national income, the entire nation's income. Entire nation's income is values added up, and we find out that. What are the main elements here? Goods and services produced annually. The point to be noted, it is annually. Now, the total amount of income accruing to a country from economic activities in a year's time is known as national income. So what and all accrued also we will be considering. What and all accrued, you know accrual techniques in accounting, is it not? So accrual also we will take into account. Factors of production. So it includes the payments made to factors of production, that are wages, salaries, interest, rent, and profits. What are factors of production? Land, labor, capital, and organization or entrepreneurship. So hope, am I clear? These are all the important elements in national income. Am I clear, students? Am I clear, students? You have anything to say? Okay, fine. We'll go slowly. Let us understand this topic. We'll go slowly and its importance. Yeah. Now, national income or net national income is basically gross national income or gross national product less depreciation. So net national income is basically gross national income. That means GNI, GNI or GNP, gross national product, less depreciation. Depreciation is the reduction of value from assets. Reduction of value from assets which are used to produce goods and services. That's what net national income is. Now, let us understand, it is to be noted that national income includes net factor income from abroad also. Net factor income from abroad. What is net factor income? We will see that. While computing national income, only finished goods or final goods are taken into account and not the intermediary goods. Intermediary goods, what will happen? Double counting will happen for national income. So, what are intermediary goods are? Intermediary goods are, I'll give you an example. What are intermediary goods? Say, suppose basically you are a baker. You are a baker who bakes cake. Everybody knows. This is a common example given by all the economics professors. The baker gets what you call the baking related items. He needs some atta or maida. So he procures it from the farmer, and farmer gives these goods to the miller. Miller makes it, milling happens, and baker uses the flour for making his item. So these three layers are there for a cake production. So a farmer, suppose a farmer gives, say, 1 kg of atta. 1 kg of atta is 50 rupees. 1 kg of atta is 50 rupees to the miller. Miller processes it. Miller processes it, and after that he gives that goods to that fine flour to the baker, who gets it at 75 rupees. So another 25 rupees is added, and he further processes it and makes a cake and sell it to the customer for 100 rupees. Suppose while computing the national income, there are three people are there. If you take 50, take 75 and 100, the total national income will be 225. That means for every value addition process, you are adding the original price. So what happens? National income will be skyrocket high. That is wrong. So the intermediary part you should ignore. You should ignore. You should ignore. So the real national income should accommodate only the value added part, only the value added part. That is farmers 50 rupees, and the value addition which is given by the miller 25 rupees, and the value addition further added by the baker another 25 rupees. So 100 rupees will be added to the national income for computation. Simple formula. That's why. Otherwise, no, this double counting happens. Say, where is 100? Where is 225? Hope the example is clear, students. Example is clear. Can I get some response? Can I get some response? Yeah, thank you. Now, goods which are further used in production process are intermediary goods. So the final value of goods are only taken into account. This is what we have seen. Now let us understand what is gross national income. Gross national income. Gross national income is the sum of a country's gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is what? GDP. GDP plus net income from abroad. Net income from abroad. Net income from abroad. This is what? GNI, gross national income. For net national income, what we have found out? GNI minus depreciation. So for GNI, it is the sum of country's gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is nothing but the goods and services produced in a country in an accounting year. The country means the domestic territory. The domestic territory, that is why it is called gross domestic product. Domestic only. Domestic only. The point to be noted in GDP is that all production should happen in domestic. Suppose a country like India, the production should happen only in India. Indian company might have some units abroad, say in US or UK. That production is not taken into account for GDP. Only the production which are happening in India, that is the territory, that is the four walls of a country. So that is only taken into account in this GNI. Plus the net income, net factor income from abroad. That means the export and import. We will see that terms. Now, it represents the value produced by a country's economy in a given year, regardless whether the source of value created is domestic production or receipts from overseas. We get the receipts from net income, that is the overseas, that is also there. So the production domestic is taken and the income received from abroad is taken. Net income, that means plus or minus income, exported income as well as imported, what we pay outside. There are some methods are also there. We will see those methods also. This is what the GNI is. Now, what is net factor income from abroad? Net factor income is factor income earned from abroad. What is factor income? You all know the land, labor, capital, and the organization. Those income which are earned from abroad minus the factor income paid abroad. That means people, the foreign countries, firms will be here. Those amount will be going back to their country. That net only taken into account for gross national income. And in turn, it will be taken into net national income also. So hope this NFIA is clear. Net factor income from abroad, NFIA. That means factor income earned from abroad minus factor income paid abroad. Hope, am I clear? So we have learned a few terms here in macroeconomics, which is national income, net national income, which is GNI minus depreciation, and intermediary goods. And we have learned GNI, that means GDP, the value of GDP plus net factor income from abroad, and what is net factor income from abroad. These are all the terminologies we have learned. So the questions, your MCQs will be with these terminologies. Here, like a subject of history, you have to remember these terms, because one words will be based on these terms, and some formulas are there we will be learning through, going through. The factor income from abroad, let us see further. It is the income earned by the normal residents of a country from the rest of the world in the form of wages, salaries, rent, interest, dividend, and retained earnings. Retained earnings means by the corporates. Now, factor income to abroad is the factor income paid to the normal residents of other countries. That means non-residents in India. For a person in India, suppose a person from Coimbatore goes to Dubai for his earnings. For Indians, he is a non-resident. And if he stays for 180 days and above, there are some rules are there. Is it not? So that person becomes non-resident and he sends money to India. That is called one of the factor income. Say, suppose in Suzuki, from one Japanese resident is working here and he earns salary here, and that salary he may send it to Japan also. That is factor income to abroad. So this is what the difference between those two are the net factor income from abroad. Hope am I clear to you all, students? Am I clear to you all? Yeah, thank you. Don't worry about this. Lot of terms we will remember. I will give you simple techniques how to remember these terms, how to remember certain formulas. Overall, for your exam purpose also, exam preparation also, how to remember a theory paper, how to remember a practical paper. I will give you some tips. That will be very useful. You will be definitely clearing this CET at first attempt itself. Don't worry about that. I guarantee you on that. I guarantee you on that. Only thing, the way of preparation, which we all teachers will be giving it to you. So you can get these instructions in our live classes also, as well as our video lectures also. So please do subscribe to that one also. Now, there are three methods of measuring national income. There are three methods of measuring national income. What are they? Let us see. The product method or value added method, the income method, and the expenditure method. The three methods are product or value added method, the income method, and the expenditure method. So these are all the three methods to measure the national income. How do you measure? How do you measure that? Say, suppose if I take value added method, I need to ensure that who finally consumes the goods? Who finally consumes the goods? I have to take into account the final consumption. So I need to take only the value of final consumption. I should ignore the intermediaries. So that will be a very difficult process also, because you say the National Statistical Authority will come to every house. Normally, school teachers are appointed to take the census and to make sure that all the details are also available, and they will be recording all the transactions of all the individuals who are there in the list of survey. It is basically the survey where government calculate. It's all approximate figures. There is one method. You have to take the value addition. Now the second method focuses on the income part. Income part means the income earned by all the family members. Say, suppose I take a one family of say 4 to 5 members. There may be 2 member or 3 member earning in that family. I need to add up that income that comprises of the total income of that particular family. By that, the entire street. By that, the entire nagar, the entire district, the entire state, the entire country. You need to do this process to find out the income, the net income method from the net income method process. So you have to find out not only the salary and wages, income earned from all the factors of production. Somebody may be a wager, somebody may be getting salary, somebody may be doing a business, somebody may be letting out their buildings. So this is another method which is called income method. Now, expenditure method, that means the money spent by us, the consumer spending, the money spent for some investments by the businesses in land and building and all, and government also do spend some money, and we take the net of export and import. This is the expenditure method. So in a nutshell, I have explained you all the three methods. We will be going through the details of each method. So normally the values are taken at market price. Till 2015 in India, it was calculated at the normal prices. But in 2015, government has changed the calculation of GDP through market price valuation. So the methodology has got changed. And the most effective method adopted to measure national income is expenditure method. Other methods are also there. There are certain limitations, but expenditure method, you are approximately or more or less correct in assessing a country's gross domestic product or the national income. Hope am I clear, students? Yeah, what is the difference between product method and the expenditure method? One question has come. Product method is we only take into the value added part. That means that was I was telling you about one example. Only the value addition which is being done in production process or the services given process. So only we will take those part and we will. So goods and services which are produced, which are services which are rendered, that only we will take. In expenditure method, the entire spending will be taken into account. Entire spending will be taken into account. The spending of consumers, the investments of business people, and government spending, as well as the net income and exports. But in value added method, we doesn't consider the government part that seriously as expenditure method does. We will learn one by one the method, and then it will be easy for you to understand the differences very quickly. We will learn one by one. Yeah, value added method also I will explain again. Value added method also I'll explain again. Don't worry about that. Now let us see what is product method. We will learn the three methods today, and I will take some questions for you, and then we will see what it is. The product method. This method measures the contribution of each producing enterprise in the domestic territory of the country. So in the domestic territory of the country, each producing enterprise, the following steps are adopted to calculate the product method. That means identify the producing enterprise and classify them into individual sectors. So you have to identify, this is agriculture, this is manufacturing, this is services. You need to identify and sector them. Telecom sector, pharma sector, you need to draw a line. Estimating the net value added by each producing enterprises as well as each industrial sector, adding up the net value to get the entire figures under product method. So entire figures under product method. Now you got some idea about what is a product method. First, we need to classify them. Who and all are producing. We need to classify them sector wise. Make sure that you are adding only the value addition part, because industry to industry, the goods will be moving. So one industry takes some other industry's goods, and that industry will make some refinement and sells that product to the final consumer. So you have to take in that chain the value addition part only. So that is what product method. Now let us see the product method approach of national income involves adding the value of final goods and services. That is why it's value of the final goods and services, who really consumes it. It's the summation of all sector. It's the summation of all sector where we take into the final goods and services. Now, what are the sectors? Agriculture, manufacturing, construction, transport and communication, banking, administration and defense, and distribution of income. These are all the major sectors which are there. All the sectors which come. So you need to identify whether this enterprise is having a production capacity is there. So that is why product method is calculating the product which are being produced by the enterprise in the domestic territory of a country annually. And we segregate them into sectors, added the final goods and value to find out the national income. Hope, am I clear to this? Now, certain precautions are to be taken while calculating that. First thing is double counting. That is what intermediary goods that we have already seen. How double counting happens, I have given an example. In the video also, you can see that example. No issues. I have given different examples also. Now, value addition in particular year, you have to see what are to be taken into account. The gross domestic product, one of the national income measurement is The gross domestic product includes those goods and services that are newly produced within the current period. So we will not take the production of goods and services which are being produced in the previous year. So we will only take into account the current production, current this year. Say suppose April to March. Those things only we will take into account. Then stock appreciation. The value of stock gets added due to the increase in output. That is due to increase in prices, not in the output, due to increase in the price. Due to increase in the price, the value of stock gets appreciated. That must be deducted. Value appreciation should be deducted. We have to see only the product output. If output is there, we can take into account. That we have missed out in counting, that we can take into account, but not the appreciation, the value appreciation. That should be deducted. Now, production for self-consumption. No, you are a manufacturer of some items. Say suppose a pen. You are a manufacturer of a pen. You use those pens for your home purpose. You use those pens for your home purpose. That is to be added. And that pen has to be calculated at the market price. The value of the pen is calculated at the market price, not at the price what you take it. So that is to be added. So do not ignore the self-consumption. So you have to see the stock appreciation has to be deducted. The double counting has to be avoided, but self-consumption has to be included in the product method. So this is what product method is all about. Hope you understood the product method calculation of the gross domestic product and the national income. Have you understood? Am I clear? If you have any doubt till now, please do ask. If you have any doubt till now, please do ask. Any doubt? Any doubt? If you have, please do ask. Now, that I was discussing in the beginning, the importance of economics in all subjects and your profession. Now, as a CS, you will be doing a lot of activities. Not only you will be a company secretary of a company where you are advising the company top management about a lot of activities, or the annual general body meetings, statutory meetings, and all other legal guidelines which you give. As a company secretary, you should also understand the economical value which is being added in each of the processes which you are carrying out. If you are not understanding the economical value, then it will be of mere advice, mere statements. So you should know all these things. Of course, this gross domestic product and all not there in your routine profession, but you should understand those terminologies to make sure that whenever you are taking a decision, the decision is wholesome. So each process is very important for a final decision. Then only the refined decision will come. So this is what the ultimate aim of your profession. So when you understand these terminologies only, it will be easy for you. Now, somebody has asked about the expenditure method. So I'll explain the expenditure method and we will end the session for today. We'll go through the income method in the next session and then we'll move on. The expenditure approach measures the national income as the total spending on final goods and services produced within the nation during a year. Now, this approach measuring of national income is to add up all the expenditures made for final goods and services at the current market price by the households, firms, government, during a year. This is what an expenditure method is. The total aggregate final expenditure on final output. Thus is the sum of 4 broad categories of expenditures. We have categorized this expenditure into 4. What are they? Consumption, investment, government, and net exports. Net exports means export minus imports. That's called net export. Now let us understand one by one what are they. Consumption expenditure. It is one of the largest component of national income. The point to be underlined. The largest component of national income is consumption expenditure. One word question, student. Point to be noted. First thing. It includes expenditure on all goods and services produced and sold to the final consumer during the year, who finally consumes that. So that is what the consumption expenditure represents. In short form, it is called as C. In bracket, I have mentioned it. Now, investment expenditure. Investment is the use of today's resources to expand tomorrow's production. That means you have incurred the expenditure to buy new plants, adding to the value of stock or newly constructed houses. So investment in your tangible assets, basically. So these are all taken into account in investment of expenditure. That is represented by the word I. So C plus I. Consumption expenditure is the largest component of national income, and the next one which comes as investment expenditure. Now, the third one is government expenditure. It is the second largest. The point to be noted, the second largest is government expenditure. So, but normally the formula represents in a way C plus I plus G. That's what the formula goes. But you should remember C plus G plus I. You should remember C plus G plus I, so that the remembering order will be easy. So consumption expenditure, the largest one. The government expenditure is the second largest component of national income. And the third one is the investment part. It includes all government expenditure on currently produced goods and services, but excludes transfer payments while computing national income. While computing national income, it never takes into account the transfer payments. We will see what are transfer payments. Don't worry about that. Now, net exports. Net exports means defined as the total exports minus imports. So the national income is calculated from the expenditure side is the sum of final consumption, sum of the final consumption expenditure, expenditure by business on plants, government spending, and net exports. So these are all the terms which we calculate. Now let us see the formulae and see the precautions to be taken before taking into account. The expenditure on second-hand goods should not be included. So you should not include the expenditure made on second-hand goods. I'll give you an example. Suppose you buy a car, second-hand car. The first-hand car has already been sold from the showroom. That value is already added in your expenditure, and that has been already added in the GDP. If you add the second-hand car also, it will be a duplication process. So avoid second-hand goods. It should not be included. Now, expenditure on purchase of old shares and bonds is not included. That means you purchase some old shares, old investments, which are not included in the current GDP figure of expenditure method, because that would have been included already in the previous year or the year before, whichever year may be, that would have been added. So that should not be included. Expenditure on transfer payments by governments. That means unemployment benefit. Suppose you register your name in employment exchange, if you are not getting a job for certain years, they will give you some amount. Say 500 rupees, 300 rupees, 1000 rupees, depends upon the expenditure government can spend on that. If you register in employment exchange, government is giving that. Lot of government are giving. Old age pensions, government is giving. Free pensions they are giving. Interest on public debt should not be included because no productive service is rendered. We will take into account only the productive services, not the unproductive services. That is why these are all not included in the expenditure method calculations. Now, hope am I clear with this? Hope am I clear with this? The formulae for expenditure method is C plus I plus G plus X. We say X means the net of export minus import. That is what. Sir, in product method, do we consider only value addition or the final good? That means final goods, the final goods travel through a lot of process means the value addition part only we will take. The value addition part only we will take. That's what I was giving you an example of the miller, the farmer, miller and the baker. Say farmer gives it for some rupees, say 50 rupees. And the miller uses that product and he sells it at 75 rupees. And finally, the baker sells the product for 100 rupees. So in three stages, the selling is happening. The 3 stages selling is happening. If you add all these 3 sellings, what will happen? The duplication. The GDP will be 225 rupees. But actually, the GDP is only 100 rupees because that farmer already sold that product to the miller for 50 rupees. That selling is already taken into account. So only we will take the final consumption. That's why we avoid the double counting. Hope am I clear to you all? Am I clear, students? Any doubts? Any doubts, students? Till now, any doubt? Shall we move on to learn the income method also, or in the next class? Is it okay for you? Okay, next class. Okay, fine. That's fine. So I will sum up today's session and see today we have gone through the main topics, which is called the macroeconomics part in your paper. Microeconomics part is also there. That will be taken by the beginner ma'am, and macroeconomics part I will be handling through it. There are 4 chapters are there. In each chapter, you might be getting questions of 5 marks each. All are MCQs. There will be different mark structures are also there. We have learned in this chapter till now is what is national income, what is gross domestic product, what is gross national income, and how net national income is calculated with the gross national income, and what are the methods or measurement of national income. There are 3 methods are there, which are called the value added or production method, the income method, and the expenditure method. In that, we have seen the value added method and expenditure method. We will see in our next class the income method, and we have seen some exemptions in this. So please do revise your topic, subscribe to our channel, and make sure that you are getting the pre-launch offer. Okay. Thank you. All the best, students.